NATO defense budgets have been cut by more than $100 billion in the past 3 years, driven by the end of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars and the fiscal downturn. Even though those budgets make up about half of the world's defense spending, total global military expenditure has not changed. This points to a profound shift driven by big purchases in the Persian Gulf and across Asia. And buying countries are forcing companies to relocate investments, jobs, and technology from their erstwhile homes in the US and Europe to the economies of their new customers. Here with me to discuss this shift are defense analyst Francis Tusa and Grant Rogan, founder of Blenheim Capital. Thank you for joining me, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Francis, these numbers really are extraordinary. What's driving the increased purchases in the Persian Gulf and across Asia?
There's the risk issue. If you are on the south side of the Persian Gulf and you look north, you see Iran, you have fear. It's a perpetual fear, it's been going on, but you look at the nuclear issue, Iranian general modernization, and you go, we can't sit still and just watch this happen. Hence, for example, 2 years ago, the Saudis signing up to probably $35 billion of agreements overall. The same is true in Asia, especially Northeast Asia. If you were Japan, you look and see China, you look and see North Korea, you just start thinking, we can't sit still and let them grow without doing something.
Grant, in the Persian Gulf, we've also seen instability of the type in Syria and Egypt. How much is that informing the decisions that governments across that region are making?
I think it's having a major impact with regards to the decisions taken by those countries. They are largely countries run by ruling families, by the sheikdoms and the kingdoms themselves. There's a fear of instability of those governments as a consequence of the Arab Spring and the knock-on effect. We've seen Muslim Brotherhood the very first time unleashed, if you will, and that's causing both economic and political instability. Combine that with what Francis mentioned on Iran, and you've got the perfect cocktail for major defense procurement from a national security perspective.
So you've got Western companies seeing cuts in the US and here in the UK and across Europe, and more opportunity overseas. But those countries that are buying overseas are getting smart about how they buy, and what they demand of companies that sell to them. Grant, you consult these countries on these kind of issues. How much have you seen a change in the sophistication of how these deals are done?
I'd say since 2008, it was a major shift that began. We're now seeing clients demanding their potential vendors to them deliver industrial participation, or they want to participate in the actual manufacturing, assembly, or support of the product that they're buying. We're seeing them wanting financing now. You know, oil prices we've seen fluctuate from highs and lows, and governments are looking on their procurement budgets to get more of a flat line, if you will. So we're seeing that, and we're seeing the nasty word offsets, which is our main core of business, being brought in more and more with percentages rising.
Defense deals are very political. How does the shift in purchasing, in who's buying and who's selling, affect the trade in influence that comes with the trade in arms, Francis?
Still, and it's going to carry on for a long time, if you feel you are threatened by a serious outside force, you will tend to look to buy American, because by buying American kit, there is an explicit security guarantee for so many reasons. After all, let's just think of Saudi Arabia. If Saudi Arabia were to be overrun by Iran, the Iranians would get their hands on lots of American equipment. Would that be acceptable? No, it wouldn't. That is why in Northeast Asia, still, countries like Korea and Japan, even though they flirt with European suppliers, ultimately they work out, if North Korea were to literally go nuclear tomorrow, who do we want turning up and who do we think actually will turn up? And the answer is Uncle Sam.
Grant, in India though, it was a French company that won the big jet fighter tender, and perhaps because they weren't American. How does the flexibility, let's say, on the French in terms of foreign policy play into this competition between European suppliers?
Well, I think it allows the French to be able to play a very interesting hand. They don't really worry too much about localization or local participation in terms of moving content and job sustainment from France to another country. They're very much more commercially focused, and the government is hand in hand with industry as a consequence.
And lastly, on this theme, the rise of the Chinese as an exporter.
If the quality improves and if the reliability as a supplier, then yes, China will become a much more serious player. If I was sitting in the shoes of any of the American manufacturers or European, I would start being very worried about South Korea, and then also people like Thailand. And simply they've got electronics industries, they've got extra capacity and they've got the brain power to be able to develop those. And they could start flooding the defence electronics market much in the same way they've done with televisions and other consumer electronics.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.